Hey guys, welcome to the VisionCast. This is Brandon DiFede. I'm here with Lorcy, and we're excited to get started with you guys today. So Leo, as a creative, as a businessman, as a multifaceted creator, I would consider you. What do you think are like the first things that have brought you to become and develop the programs, businesses, and presence that you have online?
What has brought me, as in like what like fueled the desire?
Yeah, what
Because a
fueled
lot
the
of people
desire?
ask me that.
Yeah.
Because I mean, my desire is like, a lot of people just and a lot of people who get into these, because I talk like most of the people I take on through the phone, or through the phone or through another funnel. One of the questions I ask them to kind of qualify them, so I'm not wasting my time with somebody, is what is like your purpose? Like, what is that deeper thing? And through asking that, which is not normally, maybe like, you get to know some like really cool people and you're interested to know what their deep future is. So, you get a relative idea, but after like getting a large volume idea of literally asking people, tell me exactly what is your deep like vision. A lot of people, obviously, like a lot of people want to be free, a lot of people maybe want to help their family, a lot of people want to have a bit of an impact. But even though all these people are trying to get into a mentorship and benefit their life, all of those are great. Those are all people I really want to help. But very, very, very select few I can fully relate on, even though I relate on everybody's vision, because it's, not driven out of a particular thing, but it's like such a fucking deep desire. Like, I want to like just have the biggest impact. I want to have the biggest stat, and I can get into that later. So that's why it's interesting of like why, like what makes me want to do something which have a desire which is so crazy that 0.00001% of people have. And I actually was on the phone with like I'm not gonna say his name, but a very, very successful dude like before coming on here, and he was trying to amateur psychology me on thinking like is it like a family thing, like your parents, because they had like divorce and stuff like that. Like my childhood was very up and down, but honestly what fueled me before, and even things like, even though I was very popular in school, I would still get bullied sometimes, like not deep enough to, but still like that would be a desire for me. But here's the thing, those are not the desires that I think of nowadays. Like those are the type of desires which originally like fuel you to just like I'm gonna fucking, but those are not, and you could probably relate with me on this, those are not the same desires that you have now.
No, I mean, I think at its core though, there are some like rooted desires that brought you to inspire you to do this, whether it be hardships or even things that you just practiced in your life, just common practice.
This is the perfect way to put it.
Yeah.
So desire is actually not a very high frequency, and a lot of people think it is because, Think and Grow Rich, one of the 10 commandments is desire. You have to have the desire. But you think about it, that's actually in the beginning. That's probably, I think, the first one or like the second or third one max, right? Because that's still when you're not in a high frequency. So you're vibing on the desire. Those people aren't tapped into their purpose yet. So now I 100% operate on purpose. So because I'm on that higher frequency, and because the desires which I had, which was, being the best, becoming the best in my friend group, getting ahead of all the girls I was thinking about, which I would have to work for, getting ahead of all the drama, and literally feeling like I was just floating around, feeling like I didn't have control of my life. And I did have those visions, but that still didn't really mean I had purpose. Like I knew I wanted to have generational wealth. I knew I wanted to be free, this, that, but I didn't quite find my purpose yet of, wanting to positively influence millions around the world and have that huge impact and fucking all that stuff. I wasn't operating on that on a daily basis. So those first couple months, maybe even the first year, I would say the first 6 months of me when I really complete, like, I didn't just, a lot of people, and it's not a bad thing, like some of the most successful people you see, slowly, they don't have like that one big change. It's like a gradual thing. But I did have that one big change. And that was, rooted out of what I just described. And then it slowly transitioned out of forcefully, which is something I'm sure you hear of a lot, forcefully putting yourself through hardship, because like you have to create, like when you're starting out or in whatever position you are, you have to forcefully create hard things in your life. Same way, you don't feel as good unless you've worked out the same way in the day. Same thing, like you have to create that, make yourself go through hard things, right?
Yeah.
And so in the beginning, obviously my life wasn't where I wanted it to be really at that time. So, but I would still create hardships for myself, and then I would just create such a vision, and then things would still not be aligned, and it would be really hard. And out of those days where I'm still, like, my momentum is absolutely insane, like everything, like I'm dialed in on all my habits, but like those beginning months is just a straight dopamine detox, where every single second of every day was like, if I was not doing something, like, I mean, I didn't really have much businesses to work on, so I was just learning, reading, like I would not allow myself for 1 second to do something back like my old self was 5 months ago. I was running away from something. That's what desire is, running away from something I feel like more, and then purpose is obviously striving towards something higher. So I was just running away from that, and it was actually, it's easier to be completely dialed in on something every single second of the day when you're just running away from your yourself 5 months ago.
So what were you running away from, like, and what were those hardships that you developed?
Yeah,
because like, I mean, I think on a daily routine kind of thing, right, you can consider it, even, I feel like, like David Goggins talks about, like, he talks about making your bed in the morning, right, doing things you don't want to do, because if you can win those battles, then you're projected to win the rest of the battles during the day. Because if you can beat that, you're not waking up in a loss.
Yeah.
Right? If you snooze the alarm and stuff like that. But that's just where it's rooted in. What kind of hardships did you maybe force upon yourself? Or maybe you forced them upon yourself, but they were kind of part of some kind of journey.
I was just about to get into that, because like the one that I forced upon myself was every single second of every day, like trying to like learn or trying to do something, and fucking working out a bunch of times a day, and like just being way too extreme. And obviously that's not like a balanced way to do it. But it was a mix of that and still things like, people around me still didn't really catch up to me being in a change. So people around me still didn't really catch up. So, getting arguments with my dad or with my brother or with people around me, and it still wouldn't feel like they caught up, and that's what feels really bad. So I don't remember exactly what happened that day, but I had a fucking crazy argument in my apartment. It was me, my brother, and my dad living in a 2-bedroom apartment. So there was a lot of communication going on, as much as we could like try to separate. And basically, I forgot what happened, but I remember the moment I was in the shower, like just bawling, like I was fucking bawling, like. But that's also a mix of me just being absolutely exhausted. I exhausted myself on purpose because I felt so shitty when I was not doing this. Like it's almost like self-hurting. Like if I was, and that's the thing about when you first start self-improvement, you have this syndrome, which is not a syndrome, but something like, which is interesting, where it's like, it's actually harder on your mental health right when you start because you're aware of it, right?
Yeah.
It's like it's on, like, this is when you are away from like the ignorance is bliss thing. So when you're aware of what's healthy, when you're aware of what you should be doing, when you're aware of that, like when you start watching those videos and then you don't do something, you feel more shitty than if you never even knew it.
It's almost like molding your own new reality, right? And you need to have that ego death of the old reality in order to jump into the new one. Yeah. And that's probably what that might be.
Yeah, but I wanted to say this is just a side note. If any of you guys are going through that, because I know that's a real thing, you kind of, if If you're not going through that, then you won't understand what I mean. I don't have to explain it more. If you are, then you know exactly what I mean. And the only way I would say to get through that is, fuck, I wrote it down in my phone. We can make cuts. I wrote it down in my phone the other day. I wanted to make a video on it. The only way to get through that is eventually will break as the identity in your mind like shifts, and you're like, even though, but it's just by taking action. Like you know, if you're not going to do that thing that you hear or that you hear is the right thing, that at that point, as soon as you're aware of it, if you're not going to take action, you're going to feel more shitty than if you never even knew about it. So the best thing you can do is take action, right? And that's just what it is on that, whatever topic it is. But I remember I was in the shower and I was fucking bawling my eyes out. And then for some reason it just like hit me. Like it was literally like, I wouldn't say it was like like an angel touch. And it was just like, since it was like a family issue, maybe it was about money or something. I don't want to act like I'm poor, but like, you know, it's, but I think it was about like a money argument or something. And basically that's when I realized like, I got the angel, and I realized I was like, hold up, this is not an issue at all. This is perfect, because now I'm going to create generational wealth. And then my kids won't have to have this issue, and on and on and on. But also, in that angel touch, I was also like, hold up, I want to help. Like it was me being so much under stress, it just like released, and that's when I got an opening and a download that, hold up.
Well, do you think
my
that
purpose, this is when I literally, after I had this thought right here, I literally was talking to myself, I was like, hold up, I think I just found my purpose just came to me right now at 8, or I think I was 17, or I don't remember. My purpose just came to me at 17, what the fuck, yeah, I was 17. I was like, whoa, what the fuck? And then that's basically to have the biggest impact I can possibly have, positive impact I can possibly have on the world. And not just impact, okay, business, if you're doing really well in business, then you're having a really good impact. But for me, the most important impact is that point when you're actually changing direction. Like how many people can I change the direction, like the fucking direction of their life, right? Each individually, whether it's 1 second through a video, whether it's by some form of coaching, and later on I'm gonna probably coach coaches, and then on and on and on, and then that's gonna do more, and then so many fucking ways, and that came to me right there, and then ever since then, I think it overtook the desire.
So do you think so you're talking about like learning a lot of things, right?
Yeah, self-education.
Yeah, self-education. And you're saying like that this like kind of like through those arguments, through the distress, that it was like released, you were able to kind of have the actualization of what your purpose was.
Yeah.
You're able to actually physically define it. Do you think though that the preparation of you learning all these things allowed you then to have that perspective to then go,
of course, because my subconscious mind was tapped in.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So what kind of like thing, like were you doing like, you know, like how Instagram's so inflated with like these online courses and stuff like that? Like what kind of stuff were you educating yourself on, and like what brought you to go and try to absorb that information?
Well, I had a couple, I'll touch on it in a second, and I had a couple of these like crazy actualizations, and I'm sure you have too. But like from the most crazy shit, like one of them, which I actually touched on in another podcast, was when I literally got in a car crash, like a fucking car accident, which I should have died. I was in the no seat with no seatbelt, blah blah blah, crazy night, crazy shit. And then from there, that's when it changed. I didn't discover really my purpose, but it changed the trajectory of my life. This was like even like 8 months before self-improvement. But maybe I wouldn't have started self-improvement if I wouldn't slowly have changed my idea on life. So that idea was less of when I was on this teenage degeneracy shit of just like, you know, just having fun. You only live once, which got me in that point. God saved me from, you know, being alive. And then that's from there I realized like, that there's a reason I'm alive, right? It's not just to just enjoy my own life, but there's a reason I'm here. And the reason that I felt was just that I'm supposed to have an impact. I'm supposed to do something bigger than myself. And at that point, I didn't know what it was yet. I'm just supposed to do something bigger than myself. So that was almost like the precursor. I don't know if I'm using that word right, but that was almost like the precursor to later, a year later, it was probably like a year later, me discovering that. And the content, and it's funny because I tell people this too when I start to help people dopamine detox and get into this, start changing the trajectory of their life. And by the way, I didn't just start teaching this because I'm like really into self-improvement. I started with e-commerce and doing this and doing that. Like I already had
why don't we preface
empire.
that right now real quick? So Leo has started a few businesses. He's been on the map for a little bit. A few articles have been written about him as well. I'd like Leo to elaborate a little bit more, but I wanted to kind of preface.
I'll keep it short because that's not really the vibe I'm feeling right now. I'm really tapped into my purpose. And
I think just prefacing it, for
business
this
is my
audience.
passion, and everything I just mentioned is my purpose. And I feel like I will, achieve also my purpose through a business, which is not just physical mentoring coaches and that's for sort of scale, but having some sort of business which influences millions at a time. And I do have one like that now, which I'll mention. But basically, what makes me qualified is at 17, I started making money through e-commerce, through this way called Etsy dropshipping, no risk in terms of time, in terms of money. I just got it at a point when I was doing a bunch of different shit at the same time, trying to find like whatever business, I developed my mindset, health, everything, like I'm ready to start making money. I ended up learning it, ended up teaching it to my mom because she needed help with that. I'll keep that short. She made some money from it, teaching it to other people. Oh shit, it works. And then that's when I started to teach to others because on like Shopify, there's no way you can make money on it at all. There's no way you can lose money on it at all. That's why it's the best for beginners in getting your foot in the online business door. So I'm just gonna keep it at that. If you want to learn more, you can obviously just message me about it. But I started doing that, then opened some other agencies. I kind of like a partnership agency through that, where I started partnering with people's stores, getting passive income from that, owning multiple stores. And then after I started doing different things, working with different partners of mine a bunch of people I met online through just me, even having a tiny following on TikTok. So basically started working in a bunch of different businesses, and now I have a PR agency. I work with my friend's info product agency. I have my own. I have another agency which works with influencers, and then I have kind of like the coaching mentoring, which I'm kind of doing on the side, but honestly that's what makes me wake up in the morning. So we'll see where I go with that more. And then I would say I have like 5 different streams of income right now. But anyways, the thing that I was I going to go with this? Going back into the dopamine detox, and when somebody you said like the education space and online education. So the thing which is funny is a lot of people say, so you hear this from 2 different people, and it depends on how, at the point you're currently at. A lot of people say just watching YouTube videos and stuff like that, it's like, dopamine, like don't do it. It's just like, what do they use it? Like education porn or something like that. Like you think like you're learning something.
Like mental masturbation.
Yeah. You think you're being productive, but you're not because you're still watching the video. And at a point that's true. If you have businesses to run this, that, like I don't do that during the day. Like, okay, maybe if I'm like cooking or eating and just like having my like 30 minutes like break, and then I'm like good. But basically, like everything I save to like late at night. But before, and I actually teach this to people who I'm taking on dopamine detox, it's like, bro, if you're gonna cut out the video games, if you're gonna cut out the porn, if you're gonna cut out the going out, if you're gonna cut out the drinking, if you're gonna cut out all these fucking bad habits, like, okay, like you can work out, you can do this, you can do that, but like you got a lot of time to cover up, right? And that time to cover up, like bro, like you just like start watching these creators, start watching these videos, and there's different levels. Everyone serves a different purpose. Bob Proctor, who really helped me just understand what frequency is and this and that, and just like learning, just like learning to start self improvement. And other people, I'm not going to name all these other creators, but everyone served their time in my life, and then changing to different people and other people I'm friends with, and it all changes. And other people are helping me with next level I'm trying to get to, which is not the base stuff. But the point is, it's like when you're watching, when you're at that point when you have all these hours to fill up, because if you're not going to be, if you're like not going to be filling up your time with that, like you're going to end up doing something else. So while you're filling up with your time with watching these YouTube videos or watching these podcasts and stuff like that that are about self-development or about business or about this, or even just like a really nice house, or like a guy just like showing his lifestyle, like a nice lifestyle, that's tapping you into that frequency. That's making you learn about it. That's making you more inspired to do it, and you're just like learning. I say this all the time and people love it. Everyone's like, the top 5 people you hang around. The top 5 people you hang around. Bro, when you're in that stage, your top 5 people you hang around are the people you don't want it. Like they're the people you're trying to get away from. So what are you gonna do? You're just gonna start talking with millionaires like all of a sudden? No, but you have them online, and if you're listening to them all day, then that's you. This is the biggest advantage in fucking 2023, 2024, whenever you're watching this, even later. The biggest advantage that you have that other people didn't have, like they had to travel fucking days and this to this seminar, and then they listen to this guy speak who they really want to be like and learn from him, and then they fucking took it, all of it. Now you have full access to everyone, everything, and you can get all that information. Fucking do that mental masturbation. I don't give a fuck.
So I do have a question though, right? So there's all this information out here.
Yeah, but
where do you start?
It depends what point you're at.
Yeah, does it vary? So
because let's say this. Let me just give a quick example. Let's say you did manage to make a bit of money, but you're still not in the right point, like physically, mentally, all of that. You're not gonna, start, watching videos of like how to run a successful business. Where you're gonna start there is you're gonna start with the people who, and at that point your time is run out. So honestly, like you don't even have to get into the watch YouTube videos phase. You can just get the right essential books. You can, if you have money, then you can leverage yourself directly through mentorships, networks, masterminds, and then really be all the way into that stuff which you're trying to get better at, which is the health, and then the mindset, and then the mental health, and the spirituality, and all that stuff. If you're at the beginning point where a lot of these people, for example, are already healthy, already super this, they're athletes, they're this, they're that, but they're really just that change in their life is like, I just want to become rich, then you're going to listen to more of those people. So it depends each on the phase. Most people, and maybe most people that are watching are really just in that straight up, maybe in high school or maybe in college, but like their life is like, just like they just want to almost like change everything, or just get a line. Because you're not going to be watching this in the first place if you don't actually want to be in a good position. You're going to be watching fucking Netflix or whatever, right? So if you're watching this, but you don't qualify as someone who's, you would say, successful, then you're basically out of line. Because you want to be something successful, but you're basically out of line. So at that point, just like, I don't know, there's a couple creators which I mentioned. I tell people different things based on their current situation. But just like, I don't know, just like start getting into it. Like go down the rabbit hole. Whatever speaks to you is what speaks to you. And then yeah, like that's just what I'm gonna say. There's fucking hundreds and hundreds of people out there. I'm not gonna go through the list of people. And same thing with books. Like I give people a huge book list. And I'm not gonna say the one which really, like, okay, I started with Think and Grow Rich. And then that's like the Bible for starting to, when you're in that point where you gotta.
Yeah.
Actually, that's like the mindset book. It's not gonna teach you much about health.
Well, then you go there
teach you
and
about
you
mindset.
start to span out. Because I feel like mindset's the core of everything, right? So you have mindset at the center, and then mindset is then subcategorized into business,
Yeah.
into health, into just overall lifestyle,
Yeah.
right? And then that's when you start dabbling in the different sections. But it starts with the mindset, because without the mindset, you can't actually do the physical
Yeah.
activity to go.
And tell me if you agree with this, bro, because there's a lot of, because, okay, someone wants to, I'm giving very diplomatic answers here, but let me just give up straight up something which will help you and you might need it. So in terms of the best actual books, okay, maybe if you're from ground zero, you want to start Think and Grow Rich. But if I would say one book, and I'll give honorable mentions, like, when I refer people to psychocybernetics,
Yeah.
they absolutely love it. It's life changing. All this type of stuff. Other books, but if it's not coming up to my head right now, maybe it's not worthy of this conversation. But if I could have one book, which this is like the only book I could use to make me successful. Everything else I can learn from from experience or from YouTube or from seminars is How to Win Friends and Influence People, because the way it's split up, and it's literally changed so many people's lives. It's made fucking trillions of dollars, like made people trillions of dollars, and literally it's because learning how to do that will make your life better, like in terms of relationships, like connections, business, making you more money, but also making you have a more fulfilling life and this and that. But it's just it's like written like in a really good way where you can understand it, and it's super simple. Like there's a lot of parables which make you understand it more instead of just saying, okay, this is what it is. But it's super simple, and it's literally that's something which you can just take, and it's like that book. Like I only read it once, but I really kind of studied it well, and it's so simple that it just sticks with you forever. Like Think and Grow Rich, for example, changes people's lives. It's a really good book, but for example, it's like tells you the things which you can okay, you have to have desire. Then after you have to mastermind with people. Then after you have to do this. Like these are things that are really good when you don't know shit.
Right? Yeah, well, I mean, I think that then there's a category for that. Like the Master Key System is another book that relies under that, where you actually have to physically do stuff in order for the book to work. You have to actively work with the book as you're reading along with it, which is totally different than like an introductory into something. Like another great book, just on like conceptual kind of things, is the book Outliers by Evan Gladwell. Have you ever heard of that one?
Not really.
It talks about like how success is not only based on within like just a person's talent per se, or like you hear about the athlete, like they were a freak athlete or whatever. And yes, there's to an extent there's that, but then there's also being in the right time, right place, in the right year, and all these other outliers, all the other outliers that then add and apply. And I think what's interesting about the book, though, is if you take it from the perspective of trying to put yourself in those positions to then put yourself in the right spots and be prepared in order to have those successes happen. Because now you can understand the process.
That's true. They hit it from different angles.
Exactly.
I actually thought freedom and material things were like kind of the same until I actually was able to have the freedom, and then I realized, whoa, this is so much deeper than that. Because okay, I love material things, and that's just who I am, and that just I feel like it's also correlated to my impact, but whatever. Because it inspires more people. Okay, little short side note. I've been listening recently to a lot of Wes Watson. I don't know if you heard of him, but a couple podcasts I listened to the past couple of days. Dude is a fucking beast. But one thing he mentioned, which is actually such a great point because it contradicts a lot of what these people say, and I thought about it really hard, is he was like, people who are actually hoard money, people who don't show off, and people who don't like material things are actually selfish as fuck. He was like, I actually don't really give a fuck. Like the reason I'm buying all this stuff is because I'm gonna inspire the kid down the street who's going down the Lambo, right? And when you see me, I got time for you. Like I'm here to show, and I'm here to show you. I have the responsibility to show you how to do it. And he's also like, and this made me really think about it, because then you're talking about the right way to do it is like like old money, like you're not supposed to show off and stuff like that. And it's like, well, those people like actually don't give a fuck about you, and you know whether it's okay. I'm not saying anything about old money because I'm gonna become that, and I have a lot of friends in that, and I really love that society. I love how to do everything, but I just mean like, you know, the guy who's really frugal, the guy who's just fucking. I don't want to show any of my money. I don't want to show any of my money. Do you think that's a selfish? For some reason, society sees him as the selfless guy, but that's just because he's not making them feel bad, and the other one's making them feel bad.
Well, I don't
but
know,
actually,
but I think
he's the one that doesn't want to give money. The guy who's frugal is just collecting it and not sharing the abundance.
Well, it's still subjective too, right? Because you have different people with different views on things.
Yeah.
Because you could take that as, oh, I hate that guy, or I'm jealous of them. But if you're really jealous of them, it's more of an internal thing, right? Jealousy is internal.
Exactly.
So it's like that's coming from you internally.
Exactly.
Which creates this whole
But no,
other...
that's just a side note about material things, which I fucking heard that, and that actually changed my perspective on a lot of things.
I like
but
that.
that's more, I mean, also like if you're a creator, but let's say,
well, materialism
but let's say,
allows
with
creation to happen, right? Without
free.
materialism, there wouldn't be I mean, these are feiwees. These are like cheap Chinese. They're great though. Great, like close to barefoot kind of material. A lot of mixed martial artists use these and stuff like that. But right, you have like Margiela. Like even we're both wearing watches right now. Like without any materialism, like nothing like this would have ever been made. Even the camera that we're filming on, or the iPhone, right? Yeah. The iPhone is basically the king of materialism if you think about it. People upgrade their iPhone every year, even though there's only a certain extent of upgrades that they're actually getting. You know, the actual outcome of what you're spending versus what you're getting if you're upgrading on a yearly basis is not much, you know? But it's that allows these things to grow. It allows the iPhone to make it to the next iPhone. It allows these things to expand. It allows you to have your business to some extent, right? Yeah. Because with the Etsy store,
the same thing with a car, like it allows,
exactly, with the Etsy store, right? Without any materialism, that wouldn't exist at all.
Yeah,
because
and it's not just commodities. Yeah.
Well, no, and then that also roots on like, right? You probably use stuff like Pinterest and stuff like that as well. That all are applying to creativeness that applies to all these things, and it's all rooted in materialistic things. Because without materialism, you wouldn't have interest in things like paintings and etc. and all these other things.
Yeah, and art. And
exactly.
But back to my amazing point about about material, because even people who I don't like to say more successful, because I think if you're 15 years old and you're already working on your business, you're already doing everything, and you're making $1,000 a month at 15 years old, you can't say that someone who's 25 who just makes $10,000 a month is more successful than you. I think you are more successful. Yeah. So I'm only, and that's one thing where if you're looking at someone who's just had more time than you, but they're not doing everything at the same level that you are, don't say that they're more successful. Just say they have more resources. So I look at some people who have more resources than me, and basically some of them still don't even know the difference between freedom and materialism. Mm-hmm. But a lot of people who don't have both think that they're aligned, right? Well, but I used to think that. So literally, so let me explain to you. And so when I actually started to have freedom in terms of traveling and time freedom, like I was away from school, I was done with school, and I was traveling the world and doing all this stuff, like that. Like being just waking up and I'm just like in paradise, or waking up and I'm doing something else and I'm moving there and I can do whatever I want with my time, and I don't really have to worry about money that much, but also there's the location freedom where I can be anywhere. That is actually pure happiness. Like that gives someone happiness. But material things, people say how material things don't give people happiness.
Well, so what is happiness?
So it's
to though,
it's
right?
a little bit less of a it's a little bit less of a priority. I would say material things are then third. So impact first, freedom second, and material things third. And I mean, I think that's incredibly valid. With that being said, I still really like material things,
Mhm.
but what you're saying,
Well,
what is
yeah. So I was saying like, right. So we're talking about these terms, but let's define them a little bit
Yeah.
more. So I think two things that we should define a little bit further are what do we define as success and what do we define as happiness? Because I think you were talking about, right. You're talking about materialism, freedom, and all those other things, right?
impact?
And impact. Those and
A lot-
even the variety of
this is a
things
good
after
point.
that, right? But happiness itself, what is defined as happy? Because right, when people, and I think that this has been talked about a lot recently, right? When people seek happiness, right, you might go to the easy things, right, like drugs, like and you were talking about all this in the beginning, like drugs, porn, any kind of self. I guess you could call it masturbation
Yeah.
of sorts, right? But like
There-
just any
yeah.
self kind of feeling towards those things, right, can also be happiness.
Yeah.
But also traveling the world, right, experiencing things, actually getting reward for what you've done can also be rooted in happiness. Like, what are we defining as happiness? And then also a lot of people link happiness as, oh, if you're happy, you're successful. So then what is success?
I just really feel like picking this up right now.
Go ahead.
So, because there's a bunch of little things pointing everywhere. So, a lot of people, when you like define success, and then you mention my three priorities, or three priorities of, I think, people's, or those are most people's like desires, or things that they wanted, things that they're pursuing. Most people see material things as success. I'm putting it all the way down. And basically, you're saying define success. I mean, you can be 100% successful without the third one. You can be 100% successful without freedom because you're just working so much that you're not free. And that, so much people need you and you're kind of locked in that. I mean, you could still be a successful person. You can maybe just have...
Well, so then what do you define as success, though, right?
So what I mean by that is, a lot of people look at success as that final, like I will be successful that day. And so many people have said this, including, I think, the most famous person. This is like one of his most famous quotes is Kobe Bryant. LeBron is the GOAT, but Kobe. And he was basically saying...
It's a debate topic for another podcast.
Yeah, no. I just don't want people. I don't want people to think when they think of a basketball player, and then they think of me, and then they're like, okay, Kobe Bryant. No, Bron, right? But
I'd say I'll have to take Kobe's side on this one. We'll take this for another.
you're about to make me get into a whole nother thing. But that's an opinion. I'll take your opinion. There's opinion and facts define what makes you go. But anyways.
No, please continue.
But anyways, so I was saying, so that point is that success is actually the adjective. I mean, like the verb, or that's like what you're doing. Like I had a, like I had a, like let's
it describes the act.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you are, like I said, if you are in that position, and I really, like I'm not that type of guy that's like, fucking like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, give the fuck, like you're fucking, because I believe like, okay, that maybe sometimes, some people need to hear it. Me personally, like, as in living a successful lifestyle, if I'm watching a video, even for example, Tate, like I love Tate, but if he's saying like, oh, you fucking, what the fuck are you doing, you fat fuck, like me personally, I hate when people talk like that because he's just not talking to me. Right? Okay, maybe that one fat guy like needs it, but he's not talking to me. So I'm not gonna get on that frequency of someone yelling at me for that. So I don't like to get on people for that. I want to be the guy to tell you, if you are, dude, I'm not gonna call you a brokey. I'm not gonna call you a brokey, bro, because you need to hear this. If you are doing the things that you need to do every single day, and you truly know, but you have not seen the results yet, you are still being successful. You are still in the act of being successful. So don't see yourself as not successful yet. You can not be satisfied. That's one thing. You can not be at your visions yet, not be at your point of impact yet, but you're still in the act of being successful. And a lot of, for example, people have everything, but and they're successful in the outside world, but they're not successful inside. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I was defining success. I say we move on to the happiness.
Yeah, yes. Well, let me just like concrete this. Right?
But also it depends on each person. Like for some people, just being happy and just living life is success.
Would you say success maybe is here, give me that. Would you say success is maybe where people are headed, right? It's a path. So success isn't a destination, but it's a path. Yeah. And that's why it's different for everyone, because it's the path that you're taking. Yeah. And then let's go on to happiness, because I think happiness is something that's so interesting, because a lot of people, right? I think you brought up Tate. Tate views it as I don't want to be happy. I want to be proud. Yeah. See that, right? There's a difference there. So I think maybe defining what happiness is, and then going into more deeper so of not just what happiness is, but then how that applies to success, how that applies to life, right? What seeking of happiness do you do, or do you not seek it?
Perfect. All right. So you mentioned before about happiness and pleasures, and then now you mentioned no happiness because of like stoicism, which is also great. But then there's also Iman, who says, you know, you either strive for happiness or fulfillment. I go for fulfillment, which is more kind of what Taylor was saying. But some people define fulfillment as happiness. Like I'm super fulfilled of everything I'm doing now. Like I'm happy. And so everybody is different. I mean, with that being said, everybody has a different view. So everybody's saying their own thing. As much as they want to say like this is what happiness is, in the end of the day, it's still different views. Like you can define pleasures. Pleasures, you define it as dopamine. But if you would say that for happiness is serotonin. So what gives you so here's how you make it easy. Here's how, let's deconstruct the first one, which is with pleasures. So since pleasures give you dopamine, let's say you bust a nut, that's hella dopamine. And I'm not going to get into the whole dopamine detox thing of how that's going to fuck you up. But it's not about losing the sperm. It's about your dopamine being hit. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's a bad part about it. But anyways, or you're eating junk food, it's not, but it's also the dopamine. All these types of things. So, you know, kind of, I'm not Huberman or whatever. I'm not gonna deconstruct the mental part of it. But if you look at serotonin is basically what people say is that's what happiness, and that's when you're just like everything is things are just good.
Bliss.
Whatever the word you want to describe, you probably know what it is. So it's two different things. Serotonin and dopamine is two different things. And basically, okay, let's bring back stoicism, right? Because most people who are stoic, most people who are stoic, and I can say the same thing too, bro, I bet you he's saying that, but he's still happier than 95% of the people because he's working out every day, he's eating the right things, he's going towards his goals and all that kind of stuff. So I'm sure he's happy to most people.
But it's defined.
But it's just a byproduct,
proud, right? It's the definition.
No, but I'm saying that's just a byproduct of his lifestyle, less so than what he's directly striving for. But if he's going to strive for his things, he's still going to get it. That's just not what he's optimizing for. And I agree. I mean, like I just mentioned, number one is impact for me. Like I will be happy, I will be fulfilled for me doing the things. But I'm also not just roaming around free and just having a smile on my face all the time. Like sometimes shit gotta be serious. So yeah, that's the distinction I would make. So this is interesting, right? So when I hear interviews like that, and see, this is why it's so great to give people different views and us being in this middle angle, because I can see both sides of it. So when you're watching an interview of an ultra successful person or whatever, let's say Tate, and Tate, I like them both, but we're talking about Andrew here, and he's saying how, like, oh, you shouldn't be happy and you should just work hard and stuff. That can, for a lot of the people that are still doing the bad habits, that can put a lot of them off. So let me speak to you real quick. He's still fucking happier than 90. Even though happiness should not be the most important thing because it is kind of selfish.
Well, so that's the question though, right?
Here's the thing, even though happiness is not, because it is kind of selfish, because if you are happy, that doesn't mean you can make other people happy, or help them in their life. But here's the thing, you doing all the right things from your health, from your gut. So your gut microbiome being right actually is directly correlated with your mood and serotonin release. So the things we eat, the exercise, the sun, the this, the that, the working hard, the not having anxiety because you're aligned, all this stuff will make you happy. Like you will like be smiling. Like I probably say like I'm the happiest motherfucker in the world. Like I can say that. Like who's gonna say no? Like I want to say that, and just me saying that is me making the decision in my mind that I am, right? And that doesn't mean so you're striving for happiness and not. Well,
so that's my question.
That
though,
just
right?
means
is
what you should do in that case is just try to be as healthy as possible. Try to do exactly what you need to do, and you are going to be happy.
So
you're
then
going to be
happiness,
a positive frequency.
So basically, though, right? You're not chasing happiness, though, right? It's not like It's not like you're
chasing
yourself.
Fulfillment is priority.
Exactly, right? But that fulfillment then brings happiness. Or
the road to fulfillment brings happiness.
Exactly, right? Because I think that's the thing is, right? People are chasing instead of the fulfillment, instead of that road they're chasing just the happiness.
Yeah.
Right? But when you don't chase happiness, when you chase the other things, you inherently become happy because of those things being surrounded by you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then let me make the distinction then from all the different angles I just mentioned. So I mentioned how serotonin and dopamine are different, but then I also mentioned how fulfillment and happiness are different, but then how they're also tied. And then I mentioned all the three. So this is easy. So okay, let's completely cut dopamine out of the picture, right? So dopamine rushes, that's drugs, that's this, that's that. Let's cut out of the picture. Obviously, there's parts where they're kind of tied in, right? You get dopamine from doing something successful, like from winning a deal, you get dopamine from it, but that's, positive dopamine, and, that's part of being fulfillment. Also, let's say if, you're in love with somebody and, you're spending time with her, that's giving you dopamine, but, or like people you love, like that's giving you dopamine, and you're having good combos, but it's, more also on the serotonin side. So just distinct, like whatever the fucking bad habit, just cut that out the way. Then there's, okay, so where do you make the distinction from, like I said, number one, fulfillment, second, happiness. What did I also mention? Number one, impact, second, freedom, right? So they're both fucking amazing. They're both amazing, right? Just cut out, from the word happiness, just completely fucking cut out just pleasures. Pleasures is a different word. Pleasures is down there. It's not one of the three. It's not what you should be striving for, right? So just cut that out from happiness, right? Because that's why Tate says that, is because he knows that most people, because he knows that most people,
pleasures, yeah.
Because the reason he's saying I would strive for happiness, and why he doesn't want to say everybody should strive for happiness, is because he knows that most people are just saying that as short-term pleasures. So pleasures is not happiness, pleasures is pleasures. So, but then between the two high-frequency things, so even though they're both good, the differentiation between those are, for example, right? Let's say I'm just traveling and just fucking in beautiful, let's say I'm just like going around my favorite city or, Tulum, right? And I'm just like feeling so free, feeling so nice. Or I'm in London, which is probably one of my favorite cities, and I'm just roaming around, and I'm just feeling free, and I got the financial freedom, I got the location freedom. I wanted to be here today, so I'm doing that, and I'm staying in this hotel, and I'm feeling serotonin there. A little bit of dopamine because it's me being successful, but I'm feeling serotonin, right? But if I'm just traveling all the time and getting all that happiness, but not working, not doing my impact, then I'm low on the fulfillment side. So then I'm low on the fulfillment side. And basically, also you get happiness, serotonin. Like, I know you're big into health, you're big into spirituality. When you go down in the morning and you're looking in the sun, when you're grounding yourself, all this stuff, it like makes you happy. Like, maybe it's not fulfilling because you're not changing anyone's life or doing anything crazy. You're just putting your feet in the grass, but you just feel so aligned with nature and spiritually, like you're just happy and you're getting the serotonin boost and all that type of stuff. That's great. But if you're doing that all day and you have impact as number one, then that's when happiness is taking over as the main thing instead of fulfillment, and then that's where you're fucking yourself over. There's nothing wrong with if you want to do that first. Remember, happiness and pleasure are two different things. So if you want happiness to be your main thing, that's totally fine. But if you want fulfillment to be your main thing, you have to make that differentiation and say, okay, I'm traveling, let's say, okay, if it's 1 week, it's fine. But if you're traveling for a large period of time, a couple months, then the main thing, even though you will have those amazing moments where you're just feeling free and you're doing whatever you want, financial freedom, time freedom, location freedom, still during those next 3 months, the main image that needs to be in your head is, okay, well, how do I make the most out of that? How do I, in my case, how do I influence others to do the same? In my case, how do I make content during that time? In my case, just the regular work, just like the regular work in my businesses and this and that, it's still gonna remain, it's still gonna stay there while I'm doing that. And to be fair, most of my time will still be working doing that. So in that case, I'm still prioritizing it while having a bit of the prioritizing fulfillment while having a bit of the happiness. So same thing if you're just, living really healthy, like I said, grounding, you're doing meditation, you're doing gratitude, you're doing this, you're still doing all the happiness things, and you're not doing the pleasures, but you're still doing the happiness things. But at the end of the day, what's going to make you say this was a successful day, this went how I wanted to do is, and if fulfillment is your main thing, then it's going to be, okay, well, what inputs did I put into my businesses, or what things that I put into here? It wasn't a successful day because I was just, feeling good. You know what I'm saying? So that's where you make that differentiation. And hopefully the way I broke down between all those different emotions and things like that, make it really, really clear to you, because a lot of people say, oh yeah, I do this, but I don't do this. I do. But I generally care less about saying my opinion, but more saying how it can implement it and making you really understand it, because I had to, like I said, take it from this guy, and experiment it, and that's what led me to say what I'm actually saying it. So I just deconstructed it to you, and now you can apply it and make that decision for yourself, but also stay conscious and aware throughout the day of which one you're applying to. If you're doing something pleasureful, realizing that it's not happiness.
Well, that's where I think that's where alignment comes in, right? And you're talking about alignment, I think physically aligning, right? So it's like throughout the day, you need to have those things aligned in order to make them fulfilling, to grant you that happiness, right? Because you're saying like that one guy's like, I do this, but I don't do that. It's like, that's their problem, right? Because not all their actions are aligning with each other. So there's no alignment to then allow them to have that fulfillment that allows them to grant them that happiness. Thank you guys for joining us on the VisionCast, where visionaries come together. Happy for this first episode with Leo. Thank you very much, man. It's been a pleasure.
Oh, dude, I was thinking after we stopped the camera, I was going to give you a nice good wrap up, because we just killed it. And also, you're the boy. So thank you for giving me the platform and everything. I wanted to give it to you after the camera, but that was a good ass.
Cheers, bro.